Okay, we're going to get started. I just want to make sure everybody can see what we need to see. And if you're just coming in, Pam quite helpfully has noted if you have questions that come up during the talk that you can basically, we will have time at the end to take questions. Let's see. I am Terry Johnson. I am a professor here in the bioengineering department. I've been in bioengineering here at Berkeley since 2001. I have taught a variety of courses, including BioE10, which I expect pretty much all of you have been involved in at one time, or will be involved in very soon. And if you aren't, we can talk about that a little bit. But I want to give you an idea of what the department is like, what the department sort of focuses on, and what you should be thinking about in your first year. So let's go forward. So we have approximately 24 faculty, and it's approximately 24 because some of us have split appointments and there are a few that appear to teach courses once a year, with 450 undergraduates, around 80 master's students in 2 master's programs, and 180 PhD students joint with UCSF. Berkeley is the #2 public university in the world, with the #9 undergraduate BioE program and the #4 graduate PhD program in bioengineering. So it is an opportunity to interact with folks that are doing a lot of really interesting things in a lot of different directions. If you don't mind going to the next. So we have an undergraduate program, but we also have a graduate program with UCSF, and that is where our PhD goes. They are actually granted degrees by 2 UCs, and many of them work jointly. Sometimes they're at UCSF, sometimes they're at Berkeley, or work primarily on one campus or the other. We have a Master's of Engineering, which is a 1-year master's program, which a decent number of our graduates will take after they graduate with their bachelor's. But we also have a variety of people coming in from the outside to take that. And the Masters of Translational Medicine, which is another 1-year program, but this one joint with UCSF, that is specifically focused on translating medicine from the bench to the bedside. So these are the different academic programs that we have outside of our research programs. And if you don't mind, the next one. So we have a variety of concentrations, and I suspect that many of you, when you were applying to schools, there would be bioengineering, there would be biological engineering, there would be biomedical engineering, and all of those are very roughly synonymous. Basically, different departments will focus on different aspects of bioengineering for reasons that are historical, and mostly related to the faculty that they have and the work that they do. Here at Berkeley, we focus on cell and tissue engineering, and this is basically creating therapies, typically, but not always, that involve cells themselves, but pretty much always are designed to interact specifically with cells. So there's a lot of chemistry and biology and medicine associated with this. And because of that, it is a popular choice for our pre-meds. Most of our pre-meds do cell and tissue, although that is not required. Biomedical devices, which we have a very strong emphasis on diagnostics here at Berkeley. So that would be a device that quickly and inaccurately detects some analyte or diagnoses a disease. Synthetic and computational biology is sometimes medical in that you may be making pharmaceuticals with it, but sometimes it is purely making chemicals that are a commodity, that are useful to people. And it is doing so using biological principles and biological systems. This is sort of a combined track because there's a significant amount of overlap, especially with the Berkeley approach. Biomedical imaging would be things like MRI or X-ray, how you design those devices, how you design them so that they are good at diagnosis. And most of the imaging folks that we have here are working on next generation devices, basically using core principles from MRI and related technologies to diagnose diseases that can't currently be diagnosed. We also have a joint degree in biomaterials with material science and engineering. And this is basically a single degree that is granted by both departments and involves a combination of classes from both of those. Next, please. So if you are trying to figure out the difference between these, BioE 10, BioE 25, and BioE 26, these are courses that are designed to expose you to the sorts of things that are done in those different concentrations so that you can start thinking about what direction or directions you're most interested in. So our curriculum. Here what we have is the first semester, which is the same for all of our concentrations. Eventually they will start to diverge, and I really want to emphasize, many of you come in, maybe you have some college credit, maybe you have some AP credit. So this is a structure, but many of you will diverge from this structure. There's sort of two directions that people generally go in, and things for most people start to diverge in semester 3, 4, or 5. Where they are going on the sort of chemistry track, which would be cell and tissue engineering, synthetic biology, and that would be taking BioE 11, which all of you will take, and BioE 103, which is a course of courses in engineering molecules. If you click again, many of you might then move on to engineering cells. So this is basically a series that feeds into both the synthetic biology and the cell and tissue direction. On the other hand, a little bit less chemical focused and a little more physics focused would be imaging and devices. So in that case, you might take this other direction. You can click through, where you would start with engineering devices 1 and then move into BioE 101, where you would be basically building diagnostics using electronics and physics. If you have a question, by the way, especially if you're diverging from this because you have previous credit, this is something that we can have a conversation with. Generally, my suggestion is that you don't want to leave your math, physics, and chemistry, the prerequisites, too far behind. So the goal is typically to get those done as quickly as possible for whatever your course structure is going to look like, so that you don't find yourself wanting to take a class and needing to wait because it requires, for example, Physics 7B. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one. So here are our faculty, very recently updated. We have a couple of new faculty that are coming in, are beginning to develop new courses for the department. So you'll see, if you've looked at the available courses, you will see that list expanding at some time soon. And we also have our joint faculty, our emeritus faculty who are still involved, our teaching faculty, of which I am among, and our adjunct and affiliated faculty, often faculty that work in industry and are interested in interacting with Berkeley students on a variety of courses. They typically will teach one course per year, which is different from what the sort of line faculty will do. And next up, so just to give you an idea, and this is from our previous department report, in 2015, 2016, that was our annual research expenditures at 34 million, which our department was even smaller then. It's the highest per faculty in the College of Engineering for that time. We have 72 active US patents and 23 licenses. Something you'll learn in BioE 10 is that most patents are never licensed. So having 23 licensed patents in the department is a very nice thing to see. We have 1,240 peer-reviewed papers by core faculty since 2008 and published over 140 papers in 2015. So we're very active both in industry and in academia. Let me go next. So our staff, with over 150 years of UC experience, 2 Chancellor's Outstanding Staff Awards, 2-time Campus Excellence in Management in 2016, and a variety of achievement and spot awards. I actually need to update this slide as I see it. Our staff have been at Berkeley for a very long time. They know the Berkeley system, the administration of what's going on at Berkeley. So they're fantastic partners in providing you with what you need to learn the things that you need to do to be able to go out and solve the problems you want to solve. Thank you. Next. This is Maricela, and this is probably we are the 2 people you are most likely to email first with a question, setting aside perhaps Joey. And her appointments are available. Maricela will tell you more about this in a couple of minutes. We'll move forward to the next. And Sharina, excuse me, yes. So what do people do after they graduate? So we do surveys on this on a fairly regular basis. Basically, around half of you are moving on to biotech or medtech. A small fraction will be going on to a non-technical industry. That might be someone who's going to law school, for example, for patent next. Maybe 12.5% are interested in an academic career, so would be going on to get a PhD. Around 1/5 of you are interested in medicine, and many of the unsure are balancing 2 or more of these options when they graduate. So this is fairly stable. It changes a little bit from year to year, but this sort of represents what a cohort would typically look like. And it's fairly broad. You know, you will have people that are interested in med school, you'll have people that want to go straight into industry, and you'll have people that are interested in professorships. And next. So one of the things that I want to note that is exciting for me is that if you read things like Berkeley engineers named to 30 under 30 in Forbes, or Berkeley engineers in the top inventors lists in MIT's magazine, you will very often see familiar faces. Those 2 right there, Tim was my GSI once. Both of them have been in my classes. Only one predates my tenure here. And there is a company right in Emeryville, which is, you can go to the next. There's a company right here in Emeryville that is making spider silk in bacteria and yeast. They're basically biologically making spider silk for clothing. It's called Bolt Threads. That is their chief technical officer, David Breslauer. And I remember when he was a graduate student on campus capturing spiders in the bushes as part of the beginning of this series of experiments. So next up. So here's your community, all of the other departments that you might be interested, or very commonly we see people working with, and not just departments, institutes on campus and off. We have LBNL right up the hill, a variety of other partners in industry. And lastly, who are my advisors? The undergraduate affairs officer is Maricela. For most new incoming students, that's going to be me. If you are in the joint major, that would be Kevin Healy. And if you're a Regents and Chancellor Scholar, that would be Dorian Liebman. So we would be the first line for questions. And Maricela will talk more about advising. I want to stop there and leave an opportunity for people to ask questions. So thank you all for listening, and welcome to Berkeley. Go Bears.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Johnson. That was very informative. Pam, do we have any questions that we might want to address now? Should we save them for later? Just trying to get a feel of how the chat has been throughout the presentation.
I see. Pam, can you pursue a joint major with MSc and also choose a concentration in BioE? Yes. A concentration is not 100% strict. It is designed to give you depth in an area and also to prepare you for research in that area. I would say most people don't take exactly their concentration, but they at the very least take almost all of the courses in a concentration. So if you have room in your schedule to do the joint major and to do the courses in a concentration, yes. The joint major is pretty packed, but I think you'll find that if you do the joint major, you take a lot of the cell and tissue courses. So if you do the joint major, it is relatively easy to do cell and tissue. You kind of do it already. It might be more difficult to take some of the others. How easy or common is it to do a double major or a simultaneous degree along with BioE? It is not common, but it is not unheard of. The things that I usually say to students would be that I'll speak as an advisor, and I have a slight bias here. Double majors are not for everybody, because I often see that people will be pursuing a double major because they really want on their transcript that they got both of those things. And they're taking so many classes that they're not really able to do a lot of research, or they're not able to dive deep into that research. And frankly, if you want to go to med school or graduate school, I strongly believe that a letter that with someone that you were able to really put the time in to do research with is going to be more valuable than the second major. Having said that, if the second major is passion rather than strategy, like you really want to do this other thing as well, you should make time for it, but also be willing to take those classes, whether or not you get the major, because you are interested in them. It is possible, it requires a lot of planning, and I think you want to be careful that it doesn't eat your life. Let's see. The last time I recall, and Pam, correct me if you have more recent data, but a graduating senior, if you include summer semesters, had on the ballpark of 4 semesters of research or internship when they graduated. That's the average. So there's some spread in that, but we very much encourage students to pursue undergraduate research. Not so much in the first year, and especially not the first semester. You will find it very challenging to find research in the first semester, and that's by design. It's better to get used to college, but there will be opportunities later. When would I recommend taking Bio 1A and 3A if we are pre-med students, sticking to the base curriculum plan you showed in the first semester? Honestly, if you're pre-med, a lot of people take Bio 1A in the summer, if that is an option. Some people will tell you that it is useful, like you can take it anytime. It might be useful to take it when you are training for the MCATs or before you are taking the MCATs, although I've heard kind of back and forth on that from different students. I would say that that is really up to you and how it fits in your schedule. I would not push your math, physics, or chemistry out of the way to take Bio 1A, because that, unless you have an open space because you come in with AP credits, for example, because that might slow down being able to take a course with the appropriate prereqs. I'm just going to jump in really fast because I see a question. I don't have a great foundation in biology. Is that common? If not, what do you recommend? I have been a bioengineering professor for 20 years. I have taken 1 biology course in my entire life. I'm not a great biologist. I will go and talk to great biologists elsewhere on campus when I need their help. What I would suggest for you is, like we don't come in expecting everybody to have taken like an AP biology course, and to go in understanding that. I will go over in BioE 10 some basics, many of which you've seen, but not all of you have seen in previous courses, and that's totally fine. Some of us are more bio-focused, some of us are more medically focused, and some of us tend to be more chemistry focused. So you will see a sort of like a diversity of interests and backgrounds even within the department, which is true in all departments. You can go into ME and there are some people that are interested in heat transfer and some people that are interested in wind farms. Let me finish on this last one. Pursue the development of prosthetic devices. I would suggest, because we don't do a lot of prosthetics research within the department, probably the cell and tissue track, but that I would focus on taking appropriate electives in mechanical engineering, because there are some folks that work on sort of limb biomechanics there, and talking to, for example, Mohammed Mafrad, who in this department is joint with mechanical engineering. So he is, sort of our local expert in the mechanical engineering curriculum. Also, there are a variety of master's programs that are very specific to prosthetics, and I believe are kind of a gateway to, working in that field. So that might be something that you would want to look at and go, if that's the field I definitely want to go in, what would I need to have to, be credible to get into those master's programs? You do that with the BioE degree or the ME degree, and to plan your curriculum accordingly. Well, as a faculty member, only being 2 minutes over is really great. We like to talk. I am going to pause here, but there will be other opportunities to ask me questions starting when classes start. I just want to welcome everybody. Hope the orientation is going well, and I will see you all soon.
All right, thank you very much, Terry. I'm going to go in for just a few minutes and give all my BioEs a little introduction of myself, how to reach me, some housekeeping updates, and then I will turn it over to a few of our bioengineering students who are representing some of our student groups. So a little bit about myself. My name is Maricela Loza. I've been with the department since August of 2018. So this will make my third full academic school year advising you wonderful students. I have been on campus, however, since 2015. I started off at a little office called Cal Student Central. If any of you guys have visited or had the opportunity to reach out to them for certain whatever advising tidbits. So that's where I kind of got a lot of my foundational knowledge with just the ins and outs of university policies and the way that all the departments kind of work together. But then, in 2018, I decided it was a good moment for me to take that knowledge and build off of it and segue myself into the academic advising world. So here I am. I'm very happy to again have the opportunity to advise and meet with you guys, chit chat, talk about future goals and how basically I can set you up along with the other staff members at the department, how to set you up for success and making sure that you get everything you want to do done within the 4 years. So again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. A little bit of housekeeping. I wanted to plug the bioengineering announcements email that you guys may have already been hearing from. One thing I wanted to touch, since we are kind of formatting all of our lists and whatnot, is that for everybody to go into your Cal Central and designate your berkeley.edu email address as your preferred address if possible, because that's where the department, the college, a lot of the time is sending a lot of very pertinent information your way. Sometimes we just get a lot of bounce back emails if it's from a Gmail, Outlook address or something like that. So if you guys could take a moment of your time, check your preferences on Cal Central, that helps us out a lot. Following up that thought about the announcements, we typically send announcements about once every week. sometimes, depending on what comes our way, 2 weeks, but they make it to your inbox. And these announcements cover things from scholarships, internship opportunities, what am I missing? Research opportunities, anything that you could think of that a bioengineering student would probably want to take advantage of, we send it right to you guys. So yeah, like I said, be on the lookout for that. Now, in terms of advising, getting in touch with me and all that stuff, I know that Professor Johnson did cover that in his little, in the slides, but considering that everything has been remote since spring of 2020, I've just found that email is best for advising. So if you have any questions, feel free to send it via email. If it's something that's really, that needs a lot of explanation or some back and forth and you feel more comfortable just doing like a virtual advising session with me via Zoom, I'm happy to do that. Go ahead and email me and then I'll make sure to find a time in both of our schedules that work, send you a Zoom invitation to an advising session, and we can talk about whatever you'd like. Good for course planning. Down the line is pretty good for degree checks and things like that. So just making sure that you're hitting all of your markers when you want to, so that when it comes to, you know, your third and fourth years, that you have all the tools you need and you have all the classes taken so that you can take our upper div technical topics courses or, you know, research, that kind of stuff. Just trying to think of my other things. I think that was about it. Oh, one more thing. B courses. Shortly, we will send out invitations for all of our new BioEHS students to join our B courses, which was basically a web page that we dedicated strictly to kind of have a cool, like, virtual not an advising place, but a virtual place for our students to kind of build community, ask questions to both faculty, staff, and fellow students, and just to kind of like engage everyone and making sure that we are still building that sense of community, even though we are unfortunately far apart during these crazy times. So keep an eye out for that B courses. Once you get it, accept it, and feel free to add content as you guys see fit. And I think, one last plug. So we got the announcements coming out. We have your guys' B courses invitations going out. The last place I wanted to plug was our Facebook group for more updates and or announcements, reminders, all of that good stuff. I don't want to explain the link to you guys virtually right now, but I'm sure we'll find a good place somewhere on our website or in one of our announcing emails with a specific hyperlink to our Facebook group so that you guys can kind of stay on top of everything. And I think that was it for me, my little housekeeping and my updates. Again, I'm really happy. Thank you, Pam, for sending that into the chat. But I'm really happy to welcome you guys. I'm really excited for the new school year. I'm always available via email to answer any questions that you guys might have. With that being said, I kind of want to segue into our student group presentations. And let's see, who are we having today? So today we have members from BMES and BioEHS. I'll let them explain their acronyms when they're on camera, but if Teresa, Kathy, Arnav, or Nikki want to hop on camera, we can segue into your guys' presentations. Thanks. Thanks, Jacob. Didn't know that was the message that was going on. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. We're flying high over here. Doing great with the presentation.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
All right.
We're missing Kat.
I'm going to take myself off camera if you guys want to kind of figure it out. Thank you, students, for your patience while you work this out. This is completely new to us, and I have faith that everything will go smoothly, but give us a second to transition. Thanks, y'all.
I think Kathy should be popping up. There she is.
Cool. Does BMES want to go first?
Yeah, I think Kathy's trying to share
Okay.
screen. Maybe.
Chime in and say that if anyone doesn't have share screen access and I can help kind of do what Terry did in his presentation, feel free to email me the presentation. I'm happy to share my screen while you guys explain.
Kathy, is it not letting you? Your audio is also not working, I think, Kathy.
Yes, in the meantime, how's GBO going for everyone? I'm glad you're having fun. It's not an unrelated plug. If you want to take the virtual self-guided tour on the Cal Events app, I did the one for VLSB, so you should check it out. Should we just go first then?
Yeah, I think BioEHS, you want to just go first?
Okay, let's try it.
Okay, good.
How's that? Can people see that?
You're all good to go.
Cool. So, hi, we're BioEHS, or the Bioengineering Honor Society. I'm Nikki. I'm a fourth-year BioE major, majoring in cell and tissue engineering. I'm from Los Altos. And fun fact, I play the trumpet in Cal Band. You guys should join Cal Band as well. And I do research on tissue-on-a-chip systems and tardigrade ice-binding proteins.
And I'm Arnav. I'm also a fourth-year bio major. I'm focusing in computational neuroscience. My hometown is Saratoga, California. My fun fact is I know every species of whale. If you want to quiz me sometime, there's like 99. And I do research in the neurological basis of behaviors in fruit bats. And I use like machine learning and data analysis. So what is BioEHS? BioEHS is an organization that recognizes excelling undergraduates and aims to enhance students' experiences as a bioengineer at Berkeley. We do this by providing academic and professional guidance through workshops, research opportunities, internship opportunities, and academic support. And for example, members usually notify other BioEHS members first about open lab or job positions. On top of that, we host professional and academic development workshops throughout the semester. And although we are an on-campus organization, we strive to have an impact that extends beyond Berkeley. So through the Bioengineering High School competition we host every spring, some school visits we make to high schools, which we're now doing virtually, we're able to expose high schoolers to what bioengineering is and what it means to be a bioengineer.
Cool. So what are resources BioEHS gives you? There's a lot of really great academic resources. There's a Slack with Slack groups for most classes, which give you like midterm study sessions and upperclassmen support. There are scheduled planning parties and graduate school advice panels. One thing I really benefited from were the professional development resources like resume, LinkedIn, and interview workshops. There are recruiting events and volunteer opportunities. There's also lots of like industry and internship advice panels, as well as the projects committee to develop your hard skills. And I also really enjoyed, of course, the social life aspect. You get friends in basically all your BioE engineering classes. There's fun socials, usually with free food, not this semester, but usually there's lots of free food. There's Slack channels about common interests from like food to like Pokemon. And overall, it's just a really great family environment. Like you truly feel like you found a community and a family in this club.
Yeah, so to talk more from the personal side, I joined BioEHS as a sophomore, and by that time I had thought I had already found my place on campus in my community, and I was just going to join to put it on my resume and dip for that honor society name. But I actually ended up finding a community of people who cared so genuinely about the impact they have on the world and cared about each other and had such interesting and niche interests that it really became my primary family here at Berkeley. Like Nikki mentioned earlier, we have a Slack or messaging platform, and you can put in a question and someone will answer that you have never spoken to before, and they'll go through everything with you, like classes, career choices, all those things. Both like upperclassmen, alums are still pretty active on there, so it's a really close-knit community.
I recently got bike help on the Slack channel. And yeah, for me, I didn't know a lot of BioEs before I joined. I also joined sophomore year. So for me, I really enjoyed like just the network and the academic help I got, knowing people in all my classes. I got my research opportunity from someone who was graduating who said, "Oh, my lab needs another undergrad. Will you join?" So just a really great network of BioEs.
So if you are interested in learning more, we tried to keep this short and snappy, but you can visit our website, which is here, bioehs.berkeley.edu. You can also Google Berkeley BioEHS. You can email ivp@bioehs.berkeley.edu. And if you want to check out some of the stuff we've been up to, you can visit our Instagram at cal.bioehs. So one of the things, though, is that we don't accept first semester freshmen. We do accept transfers if you're a transfer, but that's why we wanted to talk to you about the decal we run, breaking down BioE 98, which is really started as a way to extend BioEHS's resources to the broader bioengineering community. So anyone can join this decal. And the way it's structured is, you may have noticed earlier that I'm focusing in computational neuroscience, which is not actually one of our 4 concentrations here at Berkeley. And like Terry was talking about earlier, these concentrations are more for historical reasons or what research people are doing at Berkeley, but bioengineering is actually a huge and very diverse field with more than just those 4 concentrations. So this decal really helps you get to know all the different things you can do with bioengineering so you can focus your time here at Berkeley. And part of the way we do that is we give you personalized time with some pretty interesting people who have succeeded in academia and in industry, as well as our alumni, to talk about their life experiences and help you work through where your interests are. So the application deadline is September 6th. The link is on here. We'll also send it out in the BioE announcements that Maricela was talking about earlier. I love those emails. I got a lot of stuff from them. But if you want to learn more, you can email bdb@bioehs.berkeley.edu. And again, for both the decal and BioEHS, you don't have to be a bioengineering major to apply. You just need an interest in bioengineering. So I really encourage you to do so. Nikki, is there anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat and we can reply in the chat too.
Is this sharing working? Are you guys seeing a presentation?
You are seeing it. Sorry, I was going to just segue and reintroduce you, Teresa, but you got it. Thank you. And take it away.
Okay, sorry. This is all, technology is so difficult. Okay. All right, cool. I think we're good to go. So, hi everyone. I apologize for all the technical difficulties, but I am here to tell you all about the Biomedical Engineering Society, or BMES. My name is Teresa. I'm a 4th year studying bioengineering and EECS, and I will be the treasurer for BMES this year. Emily? Is Emily here? Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, we're just gonna keep going. So, even though we're called the Biomedical Engineering Society, BMES is an awesome opportunity for all of you to meet and befriend people from all majors and backgrounds. Just like BioEHS, their decal, we don't only accept people from the bioengineering major, we just have people in a community who are all interested in bioengineering or biotech or this mass bio space. And so there's a lot of ways to get involved. And in addition to attending our events, which is almost all open to the public, one way to get really involved is to join our committee system. So we're divided into 5 different committees. At the top, we have the academic committee, which is in charge of things like planning lab tours, research exhibitions, which is what is pictured right there, grad student and med student panels, and professor luncheons, where you get an opportunity to sit down with a faculty member and have lunch and discuss your interests, your goals, and what they're working on. Next, we have the Design Committee, which is in charge, which gives you the opportunity to learn a lot of different skills, such as 3D modeling, graphic design, learning skills in how to use Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, which comes free with your tuition, and gives you the opportunity to design cool things like the sticker that we see pictured on the right. Next, we have the BioE Banquet Committee, which plans an annual networking and dinner event where students can sit down with faculty members and alumni and just have a nice dinner and just have conversations with them about the things that they're working on, the things that they're passionate about, and different opportunities you can have within the bio space. We have Outreach, which is primarily in charge with engaging with alumni, reaching out to the community for volunteering opportunities, working with middle school students to spread knowledge about bioengineering, as well as hosting our internal mentor and mentee program, which is a really good opportunity to get guidance and mentorship and just companionship with an older member of BMES. And finally, we have our corporate committee, which helps expose students to the biotech industry as a whole, from really small startups to large pharmaceutical companies, with events like dinner events, networking events, info sessions. And it just gives members an opportunity to hone their professional development skills with resume workshops, LinkedIn workshops, etc. Okay.
Great. Hello, everyone. So sorry for all like the tech confusion, but my name is Emily. As you can see, I'm not Kathy. She had some technical difficulties, unfortunately, so I kind of hopped on last minute. But I'm a fourth year in bioengineering, and I am the president of one of the presidents of BMES. And I do research in synthetic biology applications. And like most recently, I've been working on getting E. coli to convert some compounds into biofuels. So that's a little bit about me. And I wanted to talk a little bit more here about a lot of the networking and social opportunities that come with the club's events. So here, this is just a bit of our industry dinner event where we allow students to, where we basically set an environment for students to connect with industry professionals and have some interfacing face-to-face. This is the networking event, I guess, pre-run for the actual dinner, where students got to just basically approach industry professionals and then just talk with them about their lives and their research interests. And then Teresa, if you could click forward. And this is just our design committee going through and like learning how more pictures of our research exhibition. And then, yeah, as you can see, like we have a lot of people in this organization and we serve a lot of people through this organization as well. And I think that's something that really is like the strength of BMES and just how many people that you have the opportunity to meet through the events and through getting involved in the various committees. There is something very like, we really strive to create a space where you can make genuine connections with people. I've met some of my best friends through this organization, and on top of like the benefit that, you know, their friendship gives me, they've also opened up so many doors for me. Some of my mentor figures have, you know, been able like help me get my first jobs off campus. They've helped me find my research positions and really find my place on this campus, both socially and professionally. And it's these experiences that have like this club has like been incredibly valuable for me in that respect. Obviously, BMES isn't the only place to find these relationships, but it is a place where, as an organization, we really strive to provide space for you to make these connections. And there's these, we try to provide just different ways to meet people who will really like reach into your life and like enrich your life on so many different layers. So as you can see, like on top of all the professional things, like we're just friends with each other. We just go out, we go to Tahoe every year as a committee system. It's like, we're here for a good time and we're here for a productive time. And it's a lot of working to uplift each other. So yeah, we have our big Welcome Week event starting the first full week of school, so next week, September 1st through 4th. And normally this would be in person, but we have converted it to be an online format, and we have an event every day from 6:30 to 8 p.m. This is a really good opportunity to come just meet the rest of us officers and just meet other people in the organization. Go ahead and you can come and just join in any day that you'd like. We have all the events listed in that milkshake link at the bottom of the slide over there. So just please come and join us. We're really, really excited to have you. We've been working on this all summer, and just come through, come meet the people, learn more about our clubs, see if like you vibe with us. And yeah, this is it's just an opportunity to start getting to know the people both in your major, just people who are interested in BioE as a whole, and to meet the officers who will hopefully make this club a little bit of home for you.
Cool. So as a general summary of everything we just talked about, which was a lot, and I know I talk really fast, but here are the many ways that you can start getting involved with BMES. So first and foremost is what Emily just mentioned. Starting September 1st, we have Welcome Week, which is just a really good social opportunity to get to meet everyone. On September 8th, which is a Tuesday, we have our first general meeting, which is where you can learn more about each committee. Each officer will explain in depth what their committee does. And it's just also a good opportunity to keep networking with officers, meet new people. I also forgot to mention that Welcome Week is also when our committee applications will be released. And that's when you can start looking into which committee you want to join and filling out like the couple of paragraphs. It's nothing too intimidating, just a couple paragraphs, and start filling that out. And the next thing will be September 14th, which is our BMES meet and greet. This is purely just a chance, a very casual session for people to mingle with each other. You can chat with officers, chat with older members of BMES, and just chat with each other, get to know what people are working on, what they're interested in. Maybe they can give you course advice while you're there. Super casual, super fun. And the day right after, September 15th, is when our committee applications will be due. And 5 days after that, on September 20th, that is when our first committee meeting will happen. So everybody who is a part of the committee system will meet together, and that kicks off sort of our semester and starts our event planning for that semester. Awesome. So thank you all for bearing with us and listening to our presentation. If you have any questions or if you want to get involved, stay updated. You can go to our Facebook page. You can also send us an email at calbmes@gmail.com or join our mailing list at that tiny URL. You can also check out our website. And of course, you can always reach out to me, Emily, anybody in BMES for any questions. And we'll also be taking any questions you have in the chat. So feel free to message us down there as well. Awesome. Thanks guys so much.
Really quick. So we do have like two kind of organizational levels of membership. We've been really emphasizing our committee membership because like that's just one of the easiest ways to get really involved in our organization. But we do have a more general membership that we accept people on a rolling basis. So committee membership does have an application deadline. So if you're interested, please make sure you meet that. But if you are just interested in being a general member and then just being around us, go ahead and fill out our general member application form, and then that'll give you access to our Slack and Discord server, which has its own member exclusive opportunities and community spaces, which are especially going to be important as we're all online. So please come out and talk to us about your committees, our committees and how you can get involved that way. But if you decide that maybe a committee isn't the right time for you now, we do have our general membership open and we're ready to take you. So I will link, Stephen, can you get the links for the registration and stuff? And that'll all be there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our presenters. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to virtually meet with our new students and tell them a little bit more about each of these organizations. They're more than welcome to answer any questions you guys may have. All of their contact information has at some point been dropped in the chat, so feel free to scroll through and get whatever you need. So Yes, thank you. That concludes the first part of the department session. We're going to take about a 5-minute break before we invite our student panelists on camera to kind of just, describe a little bit more about their experience at Cal and what it means to be a Berkeley engineer or bioengineer rather. So yes, we're gonna take a little break. We'll invite them on camera and we will continue this discussion. Thanks again, you guys, and see you in a bit. All right. Well, hope everybody got a little break to stretch their legs, move around, do what you got to do. I want to call up all of our student panelists who are hopefully in the crowd somewhere. If you guys could hop on screen just so we know that you guys are there, and then we could start a discussion in a second. A reminder, please type your questions into the chat, students. Pam and I will be kind of monitoring the chat and asking those questions to our student panelists once they get their kind of introductions and their say some words. We are very eager to have a discussion back and forth with our incoming students. So yeah, please add your questions to the chat. Yeah, can I get the student panelists on camera, please? I think I just sent you guys invites, but you should be able to share the camera. If not, can you message me? Is there a link for the department student panels? No, they're going to come on screen here. Just taking a little time to kind of grab our bearings. Thanks. No. It is. It is our first time. Thank you. I'm keeping my eyes on the chat. Anyone want to come on screen and share their best experience thus far? All right, well, I'm gonna share this screen because it's just, oops. And I'm gonna hunt down our student panelists. Hopefully I can find them. Wish me luck. Oh, all right, everybody. I don't know what's happening with getting our panelists on screen, but we have some really good questions that you guys have submitted for advising. So I'm going to do my best and help guide you guys as best I can. All right. So Pam hit me with the, I am conflicted in which concentration I want to focus on because I have a wide set of interests. So when do I need to have all this figured out? truth be told, students don't have a deadline to select a concentration. Our concentrations are merely suggested classes for our students depending on where their interests lie. But a student is not bound to the set of suggested classes under each concentration. You're welcome to kind of pick and choose, and that's kind of the beauty with bioengineering and having an interdisciplinary major is you're able to, kind of cater it to what interests you. Some of our lower division classes will kind of help guide you in narrowing down what concentrations are of interest if you still are kind of like up in the air about it. I just like bioengineering, but I don't know which of these concentrations I really want to focus on. It's cool. You guys don't need to have it figured out. But our seminars and like Bioengineering 10 is going to be a really good tool to kind of help you guide yourself over the course of the next 4 years in the classes you will be taking. Hope that helps. All right, what resources are in there are there in the department for pre-med? So I'm a good resource for this, but I also like to tell students to utilize your resources over at ESS. So that's having a conversation as well with Joey Wong or Sharina Sampson. They're experts on it as well. And then also I like to introduce students to the Career Center. The Career Center is another resource on campus that will provide you with a lot of information and a lot of help towards you navigating getting into medical school, internships, all of that stuff. So I encourage you to find out more about the Career Center and access their pre-med advisors for more really catered help for anyone who wants to pursue medicine. Yep. How do we apply for the joint major in MSc as well? When is the deadline? So check out the College of Engineering. When a student wants to take on a simultaneous degree or a double major within the College of Engineering, they have specific deadlines, criteria, details of how the application process works. So if you can't find it on your own, send me an email and I'll be happy to provide you with those links. For the announcements, Rohan, you don't have to sign up. Any student that is categorized in the bioengineering major, minor, joint major will be on a list that we basically just use anytime we want to send announcements out on a weekly basis. So you don't have to do anything. I just ask that you guys make sure that your berkeley.edu address is your preferred email to use on file. Is it recommended to AP out of the lower divisions like Chem 1A? Or does taking the class provide a stronger foundation? Actually, a lot of our students AP out of Chem 1A. So it's totally up to you. No harm, no foul if you decide to, kind of jog your memory on campus by taking the chemistry class. But like I said, a lot of our students just AP out of that. If you don't take Math 1A, yes and no, just because math is, you're building on all these concepts, right? So you take 1A, 1B, Math 53, 54. I just caution students not to get behind on the math prerequisites because remember, all of our lower division courses are placed there strategically because a lot of our upper division technical topics courses or just upper division BioE courses use a mixture of the lower division classes we have on your degree check. So it's not the worst thing if you skip out on math right now, but you don't want to get too far behind that you'll kind of end up with a really wonky schedule in like, say, your second year. Maybe that helps. Yeah. AP out of Physics 7A. I'm trying to think, looking at students' transcripts, I do see 7A a lot. If you're able to AP out of it, again, you're more than welcome to. There's no harm, no foul. But just jogging my memory on seeing a lot of our students and their transcripts, and I do see 7A pretty often. So I think a lot of students like to get the entire experience at UC Berkeley. Thanks, Pam. Yeah, that's the tricky part about advising in such a big setting like this, is it kind of depends on a particular student and their future plans. So yeah, if you want to get into more detail about your questions, I'm really open to having conversations with you on a one-on-one basis, or I can see your faces too, right? Because this is weird. It's a little weird. What do you guys want to know? Hey, we could make this an interactive advising session. I know if you guys have a specific question and maybe just don't want to do it via chat and you want to pop up on camera, feel free to send me that request and I'm happy to bring you on camera so you can ask. Yes. Any advice for transfers? Off the top of my head, visit with everybody, make friends in your classes, form those study groups, network. If you need any help with classes, I'm more than happy to help answer enrollment questions. Yeah, I think transfers are a very special set of students in our community, just because it's kind of like a smaller population, but I really appreciate working with transfers. So if there's anything that I can help facilitate for you, hit me up. What concentration is recommended for pre-med? Definitely cell and tissue. Students who work with sustainable energy, you know, that seems to be a little bit more popular as time goes on. But I gotta say it's far and few between. Biogas, I don't think so. I haven't seen that come up, but I'm sure that there, with UC Berkeley, or I should say bioengineering being an interdisciplinary major, we're open. So as you progress further down the line with your degree check, if you find that you're really interested in maybe taking some upper division classes that pertain to that, we're open to considering them for completing the degree and knocking out some technical topics. But we could have more of a conversation on that offline. Thanks, Sharon. I lost my place in the chat. CS61A, a manageable class for intermediate programs. Yes, I believe so. Any resources for CS? I do believe that those big classes also have like teams of students that do advising for that specific class. Like they have Piazza web pages and stuff like that. So there are definite resources to help students who are currently taking those classes. I think it's very manageable for a lot of our students. If we're unsure about pre-med, what resources do you recommend? Asking faculty, fellow students as well. Talk to the students that are in our student groups, because a lot of them know all about the concentrations and maybe can help give you some advice that will, you know, guide you in the direction that you want to be in. Let's see, currently waitlisted for BioE 10. Will I be behind if I do not end up getting into the course? No, not necessarily, but you definitely want it to be a class that you take either this semester or next semester. So depending on what position number you are on the wait list, it might be worth it to just kind of hang on, because there is a lot of shuffling that happens within the first 2 weeks of the classes, you know, kind of heading underway. So if you can afford it, if you're within like, I don't know, waitlist position 1 through 25, I'd say that it might be worth it just to kind of see if the waitlist processes and you have a good chance of getting into the class. But if not, I would just say in the spring of 2021, when we're gearing up to sign up for classes in the fall, you want to make BioE10 one of those first classes that you sign up for, just to make sure you get a seat. Because any later than sophomore year, yeah, you probably want to get it taken care of. Let's see. BioE10 is a fall only class, Arnav, so hope that helps. Do a lot of people do minors? Yeah. Which minors are most popular with complementary to the BioE major? Basically anything in College of Engineering. So we get a lot of EECS students. We get a lot of, let's see, MSc Mechanical Engineering students that declare BioE as their minor. Outside of the college, we have a lot of students from like MCB who choose to minor in the bioengineering program. I think that's, yeah, it kind of covers it, but minors are popular, and they're relatively easy to obtain. It's usually like a collection of 5 or 7 classes, if that. Requirements are meant to be easily obtainable by just taking the lower division courses. So I would encourage you, if that's something that you want to dabble in, to get some information now so that you're making sure that you take prerequisites if you need to. Join study groups. I think a lot of students kind of form their own study groups, or even like when you're in a class and you're in like a specific discussion section, starting a group with those folks is helpful. Hello.
Hi, sorry. I wasn't sure if, wait, should I turn off my video or not?
Hang tight right there. I'm trying to see if we can get more of the panelists on camera. But could you tell me a little bit more what what the issue was? Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I just wasn't sure if like, if we were supposed to join on now or at 1.
Oh. No. Oh. No, it's from
too, though. Okay.
But okay. Prerequisites that are better to prioritize and finish as early as possible. Yeah, just check our degree check. Everything on the left-hand column with the lower division classes, those are the prerequisites you want to work on. Deadline for adding dropping classes. Oh, that's a really good question, Max. So the final deadline is somewhere around September 15, 16. But for something like that, I would point you in the direction of the Office of the Registrar's enrollment calendar, because it tells you the deadline to add or drop a course without a fee, and then adding and dropping a course with a fee. So I just think that the last day to make any changes in your schedule is somewhere around the 4th or 5th week of classes. And actually, I will be sending out a little housekeeping checklist email to all students, probably at the end of this week, since classes are starting up, that will have enrollment dates in there too. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you, Pam. Okay, maybe there was a timing miscommunication with students on the panel. I'm so sorry about that. But Raleigh, if you want to get on camera and kind of talk to us a little bit more about your experience as BioE, I'm sure that our new students and the new transfers are happy to hear from you.
Yeah, sorry I was late. I just thought I was under the impression it was at 1, but I guess I just didn't catch some of the other ones that said.
There's so many deadlines and things, information going around right now. Totally understandable. I appreciate you hopping on.
But yeah, okay.
And those were easy, right? The seminars. What were your thoughts on taking those? Kind of like
I think they're really refreshing, like additions to my to the courses that I took, because I guess to give some context, like a lot of the other classes, the workload does not really accurately reflect the 12 hours per week the uniting that seems to suggest. So with the 1 unit courses, they're relatively lighter workloads, and that you just have to come to class and learn about the technologies or listen to the professor or guest speaker we have in the course for the day. And it's only once per week, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's just like a really nice way to get like some broadened exposure to like what BioE looks like on campus and also off campus within the Bay Area. I think one of the really unique things about Berkeley is that it's like people drive us home, but it's really not cliched in that like it's in the Bay Area, and so you get to interact with a lot of like startups. Like faculty are also involved with startups, which I think was really interesting and something I did not know before coming to campus. And then like also just the plethora of companies that interact with and heavily recruit with our students across like the entire college. So yeah.
Neat. I kind of want to segue and ask you a little bit about your experience with transitioning in the spring to fully remote, and if you could give any helpful tips, tricks, or just general advice to the students who are coming in their first semester to UC Berkeley as, you know, basically remote students. What was that like for you, and what helped you kind of make the most of that situation?
Yeah, so I think transitioning to remote, I had been enjoying like some of my lectures, like are like in person too. So I was really sad to see him go remote. But for the most part, I think most of them transitioned well, and I'm sure that with the beginning of the semester, like professors having had the entire summer to like prepare like a revised curriculum and form of education that's optimized for remote learning. Like I think there shouldn't be as many hitches in that respect. I think there's also like one class where I was already like pretty much like just like I appreciated like having the remote like the webcast version prior to like it going remote. So like for me that wasn't too much of a difference. I would say that especially like in your first semester, like trying to abide by, if you can, if the time zones aren't too much of a huge deal for you, like attending lecture when lecture airs or like is streaming is probably the best course of action. I know I don't always abide by this, and that just ebbs and flows depending on like what your workload looks like for the week, and that's perfectly fine. But trying to, I think especially right now where work and home are just kind of one thing, like trying to institute a routine of some kind, especially with just at a basic level with like class timings, is the best thing you can do for like your mental health and sort of like trying to keep a distinction between the two.
Sure.
If I could give one sort of thing that I've learned from taking classes this past semester, definitely just trying to keep like a to-do list running, and then keeping in touch with like your students and finding like a community early on within like classes that you're taking is really helpful. Sometimes that kind of just looks like what you have through Piazza, but also with your friends. Like I found it really helpful in some of like my more project-based classes, like just working on them with my friends, and that was really easy to do before stuff went remote. But once we did go remote, like I found myself like advocating for like remote sessions, working on like projects or like this section of code at the same time, so it didn't feel like I was always just like in a black hole working by myself. Yeah.
Just aimlessly swimming in work sometimes, I know. Well, that's good. I hope that helps to our incoming students. Now, to kind of piggyback on that, where do you find support with classes, with just college life? What organization or what meeting style has worked best for you in your time at UC Berkeley?
I think like probably discussions are really helpful in terms of like getting to know like your GSI or your TAs really well, and like being able to leverage that relationship to be able to ask like questions more easily. I think that was something I found really helpful, like especially in person. So trying to uphold that commitment to building that sort of relationship, I think is really important, especially like in remote times. And then the other thing is, yeah, let's see.
How about office hours? Are office hours?
Yeah, I think office hours are also great depending on like what you're looking for, but I think also just if classes have like structured like project parties. I know that's a thing in like the EECS department, and so those are particularly helpful if you're just even if you're not getting help one-on-one from a TA, like you can always go there just to work with other students, and that's great too. I think also Piazza is really helpful because possibly the best thing about Piazza is that unlike B courses, you're allowed to ask questions anonymously, I think. And so that's really helpful for just trying to preserve like the question asking process that would be like in lecture where no one really knows who you are and they can't link a name to you right away. So
right.
But yeah, I think Piazza is really helpful in terms of like if someone's already asked this question, then you don't need to go asking yourself. Like the solution you're looking for is already documented online, which is great.
I think we had a question come in from the audience. Would you be able to kind of tell us a little bit more about how what the experience was like for you going straight into Chem 3A?
Yeah, I will say like at the end of the semester, I ended up really enjoying Chem 3. I think it was like along with BioE10, like probably like a memorable course. I also had like a really amazing teacher. Professor Roback is also teaching this fall if if you happen to be taking it this semester. I wouldn't say like I think like all the chemistry professors actually who teach 3 are great except for maybe one that I won't name, but haven't had, obviously. But I had a really great time with Professor Roback. The only thing was, I think like at the beginning of the semester, she just jumps right into like molecular orbitals and like right into quantum chemistry and like a whole new take on that. And so I remember the first week or so, I felt really overwhelmed. But it's a class primarily driven by like logic and like understanding what the reactions and mechanisms are. And so like eventually if you just do the practice, I think it gets easier, at least in my case. I don't know. I know many don't share like my same enthusiasm about the course, but having enjoyed like AP Chem when I took it my junior year, and like also just enjoying, I think, like sort of like the nitty gritty of like chemistry principles and stuff. Roback really does like a good job of teaching like why things work instead of like just teaching you, hey, like just memorize these reactions and what reacts with what to form like, you know, a ketone or whatever. Like she does go into like why these principles take place. And so I think that's sort of like, if you understand the concepts, I think the class is just easier on its own that way. But I know that experience can differ from person to person.
Absolutely. Thanks. And then I think we had another curriculum-based question, and that was, any tips for Math 53? I think you took it already in the...
Yeah, I did take Math 53. I know I had taken Calc BC, which is like the equivalent of Math 1B at the AP level my junior year. So there was kind of a little gap, but I enjoyed linear algebra more than I did multi, and I think that was just primarily because of the teaching quality as compared to the like content, I think. But I do think like definitely if you are taking Math 53 this semester, definitely like attend discussions. I think those were really helpful. My GSI was like he was pretty awesome. And then definitely just leveraging like online resources. Like multi is a class that really requires you to like be able to visualize some of the stuff you're working with. So calcplot3d.com is like the best like modeling website I have found for like
Nice.
Modeling like parametric equations and like just any like 3D things that you'd want to plot or understand more about. And yeah, my GSI told me about that. So
golden nuggets in advising land. Yes, that's awesome. Let's see. Well, since we're on the topic of lower division courses, how about CS61A? Did you take that already?
Yeah, I took that as well my fall semester with Professor De Niro. That class was also interesting. I had actually never taken I have some informal programming experience from like projects and stuff I did during high school, but I'd otherwise never taken like a formal programming course like in addition like at my high school. So 61A was like a very interesting introduction to computer science for me, but I think I really enjoyed it, and there were definitely like some memorable like portions of the course, and like especially the projects because we got to work in partners, and so those were like really formative, I think, in terms of like trying to build like independent programming like maturity. I guess like the one thing I'd add is definitely just start preparing for tests early. I had this really interesting conundrum in October where my Chem 3A and 61A midterms fell on the same day within like an hour of each other. And so, yeah, just I actually ended up doing better on both of those midterms than I did on the first midterms for those courses because I had just realized like the issue that was going to happen and just started studying earlier for those. And so, but yeah, I think like just staying on top of like the content for those courses, especially 61A, because it does move kind of fast and projects aren't like, you know, a 2 or 3 hour time commitment. They do take a while, and they took up, you know, my weekends when I wasn't like studying for midterms or anything. But the projects are really fun and interesting, and I think they help you, like they're very varied, so it's not just like small bits and stuff. It's huge things like you can put that they suggest putting on your resume. So yeah.
No, it's really good. And I tell students a lot of times when, you know, they're interested in taking other courses, programming courses that might not necessarily satisfy any degree requirements of BioE. And I encourage it, you know, just because, again, BioE is such an interdisciplinary major of study that if you want to sharpen your skills, at the end of the day, all of these classes are still going to be on your transcript. So wherever you want to take, you know, everything you've learned after completing your 4 years at Berkeley, a lot of employers, internship, whatever the case may be, whatever the opportunity may be, we'll be able to kind of tell where your areas of expertise are by your transcript too. So thanks for kind of sharing your insight with CS, because I don't think a lot of students, well, at least back in my day, I wasn't taking any CS classes in high school. So I could see how it could be a little bit of a challenging introduction, but at the same time, building that network and seeking resources will help you kind of get through it. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, do we have any other questions from the crowd? Students? Pam? Anybody?
On the note of curriculum, I do want to quickly add, like,
Yeah.
if you're a freshman, definitely taking advantage of the freshman and sophomore seminars, like offered like throughout all the departments on campus. And like I personally like want to try and diversify my current incoming like sophomore year curriculum with a seminar or two, but the offerings are really limited for sophomores, and they don't even offer like any for juniors or seniors, so you'd end up having to PNP like a random course if you wanted to take it just for fun. But the freshman seminars are really interesting, I think, and varied in like topics. I think there's one on like Jewish escape artists that that's offered to freshmen, just as an example. So I definitely, if you have space in your course and just want like, and especially with like the remote sense of like everything, like having like a really small like discussion group just to like interact with every week, I think it's fun. I took a freshman seminar my spring semester, and I think it was very, very interesting and memorable. But yeah.
Yeah, they kind of feel like decals in a sense, where it's like it could be just a random topic, but you attend and you learn and you discuss with a small cohort of people, which kind of I don't know, it just really adds to the experience and gives it a very unique experience too while being an undergrad, because a lot of your classes as a first year, maybe into your second year, are probably these big old jumbo classes. So to have kind of a smaller set of people discussing the same topic with you is a little relieving. It kind of breaks it up for students as well. So thanks for plugging that. You're right. That's a really good tip. But yeah, I don't know if we have any more questions in the crowd, and we are approaching kind of like the end. So, we got one came in. How's it like being a double major, especially with you, two majors within the College of Engineering? Yes.
Yeah, I think, well, to clarify, I think like it is a little easier to double major within COE as compared to like COE and LNS, because if you double major in LNS, then you have to fulfill all the breadths, and I don't know, I find that a little time consuming in addition to like all the major requirements you have to fulfill for your second major. But there's a good amount of overlap that can take place between BioE and EECS, I think, because I don't know if you guys have learned about like the technical topics portion of the upper division requirements in the BioE major, but a lot of the CS classes can be counted towards that. I personally like just like the offerings in both BioE and EECS. I think like within like Syn and Comp Bio, like beyond like computational biology, I'm interested in like applying biology to computation, so like molecular informatics and stuff like that, which isn't really well represented at Berkeley, but getting like the foundation in both like BioE and EECS, I think will help me get a sort of head start in that regard. With regards to like, you know, the nitty gritty curriculum requirements and balancing, there are a couple of the upper division requirements in the BioE department are a little bit heavier than in EECS, I think, because in EECS you just have to fulfill like 5 upper division, and with BioE it's a little bit more. There are a couple more other things. It's like maybe like 9 or so upper division classes you need, with 5 of them like definitely being BioE. So yeah, just like trying to plan out your schedule, I think, is like the most important part. And you do obviously still have some flexibility, because the great thing about both departments is that there's so many offerings. It's not like a liberal arts school where like there are maybe like 5 or 10 like upper divs you get to choose from. Like both departments have a ton of offerings to choose from. So it's not like I'm working with, it's not like my schedule is set from the start. Like it's still obviously very open to changes based on like what new offerings like department ends up offering, or like how my career interests change pretty much. But yeah, and I guess like culture wise, like I find it great because the EECS department is really large, and there's like maybe 400 or so undergrads in one class, whereas within the BioE department, it's like maybe 120 within like one graduating class. So I do get the benefit of like getting to meet people from both majors, but also having like small communities within like both majors, I think, which is great.
Yeah.
And support from like either side of the spectrum, no matter like which class I take which class I take. So yeah, and yes.
I'll piggyback on that and just say that the BioE community has like a really cool culture that I feel like is very unique. You know, everybody's very tight knit, but at the same time are super welcome to like answering any questions, to kind of just strike up conversation as topics kind of come along. So with the seasons, enrollment questions come in, and then research questions come in and whatnot. So I just wanted to highlight, you touched base on, you know, the culture between the two departments, but at the same time, to reinforce that bioengineering is really big on our very inclusive culture. And so, yeah, thanks for kind of bringing that to my attention again. So with that being said, if we don't have any other questions, I think that this is a good time for us to wrap up and just say thank you again for hopping on camera. Thank you to all the incoming students for taking some time out of your day and attending our sessions on GBO. Pam reminded me, I want to plug our fall event. It's our fall welcome event. We don't have a date as of yet. We're still working on it because we still need to clear it with a few other people in the department, but we will have a date set by probably the end of the week. So that will be in that information will be in the first round of announcements emails that you guys should be seeing. So again, keep an eye out. Any students that are on, if you don't get an announcement email within the next 2 weeks, email me so that I make sure that you are on our list. Thank you for sharing your email. Students, if you guys have any questions and would like to reach out and kind of ask anything else to her, you're more than welcome to send her an email. Fall welcome is going to be fun, all caps. You heard that here first. So yeah, thank you guys again. I'll let you guys out a little bit early. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.